and end all. Like every Keir Starmer's going to come and everybody's making such a huge deal about this thing where it's like, I don't know, it just feels disingenuous to me. I feel like it feels like a show. It feels like a distraction from like the very real issues that are hitting people, not just in the United States, but around the world. I guess I'm thinking to myself, how do people even afford to live in the UK? Because they take all of your money.
Yeah.
Like you are a slave. You go to work and they let you keep maybe 45% of your money.
Yeah.
You know, like how does anybody even survive? And I'm just sitting here going like, dude, like the banks are about to collapse. Everything is about to implode. Society is literally on the brink of collapse. And you're making the war in Ukraine the largest thing that we could be talking about right now.
Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today. Floods our airwaves, but Faith and Freedom TV fights back with truth. Our bold content, news, shows, Bible teachings, worship, and films shines with biblical conviction and patriotic courage, free from globalist lies. We empower Christian patriot creators to share faith and liberty. Access thousands of videos on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS. Join the battle at faithandfreedom.tv.
There are some conditions, but she said if he can bring peace to Ukraine, she's put some conditions in it which probably aren't going to be met, but she said if he can bring peace to Ukraine, if he can end the war, but without doing any kind of land swap, without conceding anything to Putin, then even she would nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
A Christian musician who claims worship is under attack, who seems to find controversy everywhere he goes. Canada is divided over him right now.
He's kind of a controversial singer.
Yet he claims he's on the brink of the next big revival. And it's all just an attack from the woke left and the cynical.
Quite an unusual thing for Scotland. For years we've been told in Scotland that left of centre, the refugees are welcome here. Well, today Falkirk had said enough is enough, and pretty much hundreds upon hundreds of people, they had to close the road eventually because the pavements wouldn't hold them. People are here protesting this hotel just at the other side. This is the Claddon Hotel in Falkirk. For a few years now they've had hundreds of refugees staying here over the years.
Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, making sure the camera's gonna be good today. Wait for, oh no, it's losing its, we're fine. Are you fine? We're all fine here. I'm just trying to be a little nitpicky. There we go. Isn't that great? Leah, you feel like you're sitting back a little bit farther. You know, every time you move the studio, can you guys hear us okay? Every time you go to move the studio outside, things get a little hairy. Everything's fine. We're going to do our world news show. We're in Ohio. Where are you? Love to hear it in the chat. 5x5. Thank you, Donna. So before we get into world news, given everything that is continuing to go on with the SK stuff, I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't tell you that emails are still coming in. What do you mean by that, Michelle? Well, I guess I'm just still a little bit stuck on the you don't have enough witnesses. We have more than enough witnesses for proof that this person is a fraud and a monster. And I just want to, once again, because it's really important to me, thank you guys for being bold enough and brave enough to send us your messages and to speak out about it, because this is how things like this continue to perpetuate, because nobody wants to say anything. And I did actually, so up until this point, I want to make something abundantly clear. We are going to get into the world news here, but I want to make something abundantly clear. Like Leah and I, sorry, I'm still trying to get this. I feel like we're on an angle, but it's okay. Have not, just for the sake of just like calling people that we know who know this person, we have not just like called people to just be like, hey, do you know? You know what I mean? Like, we've not done that. We've only contacted people who were directly involved or who we introduced this person to. Okay. However, yesterday, there were a couple of people that I am friends with or acquaintance with in the movement who I felt like I needed to reach out to and just tell them, so that they would know and they would be aware. In the body of Christ, we are told that doing things like that is just gossip. That is why wolves continue to ravage the body of Christ.
So
because
there was
nobody
like
warns
grizzly
people.
bear on the
Yeah,
loose,
it's like,
would you be
can't
like,
gossip about that grizzly up on the hillside there? Don't want
I
to.
saw a grizzly bear and he had already mauled a couple people.
Right.
So I'm just letting you know.
Exactly.
Is not gossip.
I'm so done with it. Like, I'm so done with it. And you guys,
humans can be monsters.
Right. Exactly. And you guys sent me the clip that SK was on, had Mike Adams on his program. And several of you told me about
Corey's fit to be tied.
Corey Gray is fit to be tied. He's like just ready to come on the show and blow up mind control, because we're going to talk about that with him. But I'm not reaching out to Mike directly because Mike's a lot bit out there right now on the Bible.
Yeah, and that's something you guys need to be
praying about.
Aware of. You don't have to pray for him.
Okay.
That's a waste of time sometimes, right? Okay. Like, I'm just, okay, scratch for the record. What I mean is, unfortunately, we spend so much time praying for, like, these big, giant leaders that, like, we don't pray for everybody else.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you feel like being led, but don't, like, make this big push because you think you need to change him or whatever.
Right.
Okay. He has come out against the infallibility of the Word of God.
Right.
And he just made a post this week, another one. He keeps making them. And it's a kind of a nonsensical, the logic does not add up when he says that throughout the years they have taken taken the words of God and messed them up.
Yeah.
So that we can't take the word of God, specifically the Old Testament and the apostles. And Paul is just a non-starter for him.
Yeah.
No Paul.
Love Paul.
Paul's bad.
I love Paul.
And the only words that you can take for fact are the red letters of Jesus.
Yeah.
The problem with that logic is that the same guys that compiled the rest of the letters are the same guys that wrote the red letters.
Right.
So if Mark wrote red letters, then the rest of what he wrote had to be true.
Right.
Same thing. So with that, and then he wants the book of Thomas included and the book of Enoch's included and a lot of other things. So he's not an Orthodox Christian at the moment and pretty hostile to the Word of God. So it's very hard to discuss.
So my point is, I did not reach out to him.
Yeah,
I could. I didn't. I'm not going to, just because of that. Sometimes you got to just let people do people. But I just want to make it abundantly clear that there is a difference between gossip and warning the body of Christ of a wolf in sheep's clothing. That is an actual, like,
oh, we got to come back to Rumble.
Okay, let's see if Rumble comes back. It is hot out. I do have a fan and a cooling thing on the laptop. I do have a Daniel says Mark is too smart for his own good. His too high IQ getting in his way. It could be. All right, let's see if this is still live. I think we're still live on Facebook. So refresh. I'm gonna put that in there. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of address the, not really elephant in the room, but this is continuing, and I feel like, spiritually speaking, I am not letting go until it's over, because the
until
attacks
he has fully
continue.
confessed.
Yeah, until he has fully
is
confessed.
quieted.
Yeah.
And doesn't have a voice to hurt.
Now, that
any more
doesn't mean
people.
like that we're just going to keep hammering with videos. I just mean on my end, you guys need to know that spiritually, we are still actively working just in prayer and spiritual warfare.
It takes years to get healed from this kind of stuff, guys.
Yeah.
This kind of spiritual abuse, it's not over in a
Speaking
day.
of spiritual abuse, again, and I know we're going to get to the world news, but please indulge me for 1 second here. I got a message from somebody who had donated 4 bricks, which was $1,000. And she has actually asked for a refund for her bricks. And I'm very proud of her for doing that. She and her husband. But she just really just kind of confessed that, this has really been hard because she's been with him for so long. And she's like, I'm just
in 2021.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm just depressed. Mm-hmm. So guys, like, this is such a real thing. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so like viscerally upset about it. Mm-hmm. You can't just hurt people like this. You can't just bring people in and be a complete fraud and tell all of these stories and draw them in. And then like it should be illegal. There are several things that he did that were illegal that he has done. But like that, it's so wrong. And so I want you guys to give yourself some grace. And I love that even I think somebody else, or maybe the same person, had said, no, it was somebody else who said that they're just taking this time to Rumble again. Wow. Rumble is having some issues today. They're just really, it is spiritual attack. I'm talking about this stuff and it's under spiritual attack. That they're just really valuing the time that they have to spend with the Lord. And that's probably the best use of your time that you can be doing now that you have all these extra hours. But you are going to go through a withdrawal, and we're going to, we've invited Amanda Grace to come on the show. If we can get schedules together, that will happen at some point. But if she doesn't come on this Tuesday's Healing for the Fractured Soul will be essentially how to heal when you've come out from a cult.
Really? Because actually,
you said that to me yesterday.
I said we need to do a show on it. I didn't say it would be this Tuesday because I was thinking we have not.
You want to do the Ezekiel thing?
Well, it'll be something.
Okay,
we haven't decided yet.
Point is, we have to do that show. We need to do that show. Plus,
we do need it. We will be doing a show how to get.
And maybe in that show is the one where we will talk about. Somebody had also sent me a message like, "Hey, you guys talk about cutting soul ties." And that's all great for you to say it, but how do you do that? So we're going to get into that too, because if you've been tuning into this person for all of this time, you too need to cut the soul ties, right? And you need to be able to sever all of it. And I'm going to be honest. Don't mind being honest and vulnerable. A couple of things even came up yesterday for me in my mind that I was like, oh, I got to heal from that. I got to work through that, now. And it's okay. It's just part of the process. You can't just say, oh, I'm over it. Anybody that says that, like, that's just not how this works, right? It is a process that you are going through right now, and you're going to continue to go through. So
that actually rolls into another person that we are going to be discussing today, and that is going to be Sean Feucht. So if you guys don't know who he is, you've seen him if you're mega at all. He's the curly-haired worship guy, right? The long-haired, curly-haired worship guy who supposedly, was super anti-lockdown. He did, worship on the streets in California and then Sacramento and then Washington, D.C., and then he took it everywhere. Around the world even. And then the past couple weeks, this week even, he's been really struggling to get worship off the ground in Canada. Now, there are conflicting reports on whether he is being politically denied, because some of his stances. And this is where it gets really tricky, because Sean Feucht says all the right things.
Yeah.
Anti-LGBT, anti-mask, anti-vaccine. But you know what? There's a thing called a grift. And what a grift is like riding a wave. You're not the wave. And so he doesn't have within himself, I believe, after today, I think you will be convinced as well, the moral fortitude to go up against these people, but the con artistry that he was raised under. And so if you guys didn't see our show on Friday, we talked a little bit about Rick Joyner and Mike Bickle and how they are really good at telling stories and drawing people in. Well, Sean Foyt was raised and listening. He said he would play Morning Star, which is Rick Joyner's sermons, on repeat. You'll also see that Paul Kane, who he's this really ugly, scary looking, and I say this just you got to picture this gray hair guy. And he's really scary looking. Like, seriously, he looks like a character out of a scary movie. And I think it's because it shows what was on the inside.
Oh, sure.
So Paul Kane had regular homosexual relationships, like regular, like ongoing, like all the time. Okay. Now we can call it that, but he's a predator.
Yeah.
He's like a Michael Tate, right?
Right.
So Paul Kane and Bob Jones were like besties. And Bob Jones is like the dude, like the prophet raising up Mike Bickle and then Rick Joyner.
Exactly. Well, Bob Jones is dead now, but in the past, at the beginning.
That's what I said.
Right.
That's what I said. He's raised him up. So Bob Jones is the guy who raised up Mike Bickle. As if I said, he raised him up.
When you say raised up, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like my mind is like holding up, like the way that Rick Joyner is holding
raised
up Mike Bickle.
Up as in like a parenthood.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay. He spoke into it. We just saw Rick Joyner say Bob Jones affected all of us.
Right.
All of us in the prophecy movement. You heard us talk about Derek Prince, who called them out. Now you have Sean Foyt. So Bob Jones, who had a mother and a daughter defrock. And then it even got worse because I watched another video of Ron Cantor. And we are getting to the world news. I do believe it's part of the world news because everything's world news now. Ron Cantor was explaining what Bob Jones actually did.
Uh-huh.
He promised this mother and daughter, and the daughter might have even been a minor. Okay.
Right.
That he said an extra anointing, that the anointing comes on when female and male body parts meet.
Hang on, what?
So they had to be naked.
That's the first you told me of this.
I know. I listened to it yesterday with Ron Cantor, who was he knows people who were part of exposing.
That's a cult.
Yeah. And that's Bob Jones. And so my brother, Devin O'Neill, sends me a text.
Pastor Devin.
And I don't have it in me right now to text him back and be like, please watch this on Bob Jones before you send another thing on Bob Jones, because I love you. And then our friend with Corey, what's his name? Rod. I think he's Rod. I can't remember his name. Rob Allen. And he posted a thing on Bob Jones. So why is this important to me? Because good people, our friends Chris and Debbie Monahan, when we met them, they're like, I didn't never heard of Bob Jones. They're like, you have to hear this Bob Jones prophecy. Revival's going to start. The head's going to be in Ohio. It's going to lift up. And I cry now, thinking that we were caught up in this.
I believed it. I was like, wow,
revival that's going to come up, and the head's going to, and we're all telling everybody how this Bob Jones prophesied this revival, and the arm's going to come up in Illinois, and then the other arm's going to come up in Pennsylvania, and then the feet will come up in Georgia, and this revival's going to come, right? I'm embarrassed now, but I think that the way to overcome that is to be honest and forthright and to tell the truth, and God love everybody who really wanted that to be that's a good thing, right? Revival to come, right? You want that. So, but that's where these grifters are coming in. That's where Sean Foyt is coming in. So Bob Jones and Paul Kane was the guy who hooked up with all these homosexuals, and they kept trying to restore him. Rick Joyner kept trying to restore his own leader. Okay. They both were trying to restore their own leaders, by the way. You know what I mean? But Bickle and Joyner trying to restore Paul Kane and Bob Jones is just mind-blowing, because then Bickle has all these victims that he's literally spiritually and physically molesting for all of the time. He's 25, starts with a 14-year-old and just keeps going, never stops. So all these men are big giant storytellers. Okay, so you're going to see some clips. Why am I naming these clips? You're going to see these clips, all these clips of all these guys, Joyner, Bickle, Bill Johnson, raising up who? Sean Foyt.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean Foyt sits under Rick Joyner, who is a known alcoholic. Okay, and they're all using you. They're using your good heart. They're using the fact that you want to see God move.
Yeah.
Right. And so basically they can, if you don't have any scruples, or if you have an extraordinary childlike imagination, you can say, well, God took me into the third heaven. Ron Cantor said this. He goes, Paul went to the third heaven. But you know what he said? He said, I saw things I can't tell you. And he didn't write a book and make $1 million on it.
That's true.
You know
That's
what
really
I mean?
Good. Yeah.
So if you're getting taken to the third heaven, you probably shouldn't write a book and make $1 million on it.
It's so good.
So if I get taken to third heaven and I happen to write a book, you know, you can come back to this video and say, Lee, you said you'd never do that.
We'd never do it.
I'm trying to. This whole third heaven thing, like all those people get taken to third heaven, but the rest of us, like normie Christians, right? We never get taken up, but they get taken up all the time. And they are always seeing like legit angels in the corner. And I have begged God to see an angel. You have too.
So I have.
And we have not. I have felt the presence of angels, right?
And I had a dream of an angel.
You had a dream of an angel.
Right.
But I never like seen. But I do believe that there's angels walking around amongst us. I believe that we've brushed shoulders. I think we've all brushed shoulders with angels. Yeah. And I believe you should tell those stories if you have.
For sure.
But it just seems...
Well, how come all of these guys get taken to the third heaven? Like all of them.
And they all see the thing, all these, and they're all like special war councils and stuff.
Yeah.
It's made up. It's made up. It's made up. All right. So that's the made up stories.
So over on Getter real quick. I'm going to drop you guys. We will not have a stream over on Getter. It's the one that's giving us the biggest trouble. Getter. So I'm going to put the live link for Rumble over there. That's the one that's still giving us fit. So I'm going to drop Getter by Getter. So sorry, no show for Getter today.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about, though, is Trump and Putin and Trump and Russia and Putin and Hillary. And where'd she go? She came back out of nowhere.
She did. She looks great.
I thought she was dead.
She looks good.
Does she really?
Yeah. You don't have that clip up?
I do, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, she looks good.
I watched another clip.
I was like, wow. Like, because she was like Death Becomes Her. Like, I'm like, there were times where I would look at Hillary and be like, you about to die.
She looks pretty dead here, but anyway.
Like, yeah, but I don't know what they're doing. They're giving her baby juice.
Filters.
Yeah, probably. Maybe.
I think you saw her in person. So she is saying that if Trumpy Dumpy is able to negotiate, now there are caveats with her with her
there's a big long list.
If he can negotiate this peace with Putin and Ukraine, that he could get a Nobel Peace Prize. Let me tell you what she
would personally nominate him.
But let me tell you what she's doing here. She is stroking his ego, right? And she's got caveats on it. So this is her way of trying to manipulate Trump, to manipulate Putin, to not. The caveats are like, don't give up any land. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Then, and Trump will hear it and be like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like that.
So?
I do. Well, Trump has a weakness. Anybody stroking that boy's ego, gets something.
I don't think he'll be able to negotiate that kind of peace, though. So that's the problem. Like, he might think that he can, but I don't think that Putin would give up.
She's not going to ever nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
The
point is this is a psychological game to where if you can just get him to think about doing one of the 4 different things.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Well, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. I could push Putin on that. Okay. All right, Michelle, can you bring this one up? No?
Yeah, I can grab it.
So Putin is meeting with Trump. So what's standing in the way of this grand compromise? The onus now is on Zelensky to reciprocate Putin's widely perceived willingness to compromise for peace. Putin and Trump publicly confirmed that they found a lot of
if President Trump were
during their 3-hour-long talks in Anchorage, but no grand compromise on Ukraine was reached due to a couple of big points. One is probably the most significant that remains the unresolved, according to Trump, Putin's reaffirmation of the need to eliminate the primary causes of the conflict, and Trump mentioning how Zelensky will, quote, have to agree with what the U.S. achieved so far, strongly hints at what these could be. So as a reminder, Russia's official goals in the conflict were to demilitarize Ukraine and somehow to denazify it. I feel like that's just kind of like a pie in the sky or whatever. Restore the country's constitutional neutrality and obtain recognition on the on-the-ground reality. Putin suggested that he's become more flexible as of late, which was likely responsible, at least in part, for why he and Trump just met, as well as for Trump's positive assessment of their talks, so he could hypothetically compromise on one, some, or all of these goals. This places the onus on Zelensky to reciprocate. In the order that Putin's goals were mentioned, Trump therefore likely expects Zelensky to either agree to curtail the size of his armed forces after the conflict ends. I don't see Zelensky have a problem with that, making his military smaller. Get the Rada to criminalize the glorification of the World War II era Ukrainian Nazi collaborators and or rescind anti-Russian legislation, because they had legislation in their country you couldn't even speak Russian.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty, freedom of speech goes a long way when you can't say a language, speak a language, right? Where are all those people who are getting mad at Americans?
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
We are on the precipice of a meeting between President Trump and President Putin in Alaska. Drawing on your experience as Secretary of State, if you were en route to Alaska, what would you be looking to get? What does an acceptable deal look like?
He is not meeting with a friend. He is meeting with an adversary, and an adversary who wants to see the destruction of the United States and the Western alliance. But if he could bring about the end to this terrible war, where Putin is the aggressor, invading a neighbor country, trying to change the borders, if he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, had to, in a way, validate Putin's vision of greater Russia, but instead could really stand up to Putin to make it clear there must be a ceasefire, there will be no exchange of territory, and that over a period of time, Putin should be actually withdrawing from the territory he seized in order to demonstrate good faith efforts, let us say, not to threaten European security. If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
So you guys heard there all of the caveats, okay? I do not see at all that Trump is going to be able to get Putin to agree to start withdrawing from the Donbass area or something like that. I just don't see that happening at all. You know what I mean? So when she says, "Oh, I would even nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize," that's just such a joke. It's not even real. Okay. But I do think this. Hillary has become so irrelevant lately. Nobody cares about her at all. The fact that she's even doing these podcasts is laughable and hilarious. That I think that for her to say something like this is a stunt, so that, not Leah's saying, so that she can kind of get a message across to Trump. Yeah, maybe, but I think she just wants to go viral. I think that she just wants everybody to talk about her again, and to say her name.
Say her name. Oh yeah, kind of like with the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.
Yeah, I think she just wants to be talked about again. I think she wants to be in the news. I think she wants her voice to have some sort of significance in this hour, in this discussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got this clip here, this
Sure.
GB News clip, if you wouldn't mind bringing it up. I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's more. I think she
Not everybody
she kind of
gets
sees the Ukraine as her baby. I think that administration, they had goals, and I feel like they have seen those goals through, and they would like to see this culminate the way they want to. I think that Hillary is really excited. I think with how things have played out, especially with Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell on her side so far, pulling things behind closed doors. That she made a lot of money through her Secretary of State connections. And one of those, particular outlets was her Clinton Global Initiative, and she funneled so much money through that just happened to go away after she didn't have any, say. And I think that she made a lot of deals that had to be, followed through. And I think the deep state helped that. And I think that now this is kind of like, these are my kids on the block. I mean, she was the one there with the button that said the Russian reset button back when we were supposed to reset to be kind and nice and friends with Russia again. Right. So she feels like this is her baby.
There are some conditions, but she said if he can bring peace to Ukraine, she's put some conditions in it which probably aren't going to be met. But she said if he can bring peace to Ukraine, if he can end the war, but without doing any kind of land swap, without conceding anything to Putin, then even she would nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. 7 other countries already have. You've got countries like, Pakistan, Cambodia, Azerbaijan, etc. They've all nominated him. But even Hillary Clinton herself has said that if he can bring peace, if he can end this war, but like I said, she's put a little loophole in there. If he can do that without any concession to Putin land-wise, then she would nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace.
It's not going to happen.
If you go to the next one, bring this next one up. Yeah, I think that's the big thing right now. That's why Washington, D.C. is getting some visitors that they didn't invite. They did not invite all of Europe to come over, but they're coming. They've invited themselves to be the backers with Zelensky to try to make sure that the land swaps don't happen. They are trying to be the negotiators. Like the United States is negotiating just negotiating, but it's all of Europe now that's negotiating with Zelensky, because there's something about the Ukraine for them that is important. And I do believe that there is something to the fact that Russia is a totalitarian country, and they're, but I do not believe that they are at all worried about Putin invading Europe like that. I feel like that is a misnomer. I think that Putin is definitely a man who controls the narrative, and that Russia is not necessarily a very free country to live in. But neither is Europe right now. So it
was going to just be Zelensky meeting Trump after the Putin meeting, but it turns out now that practically every European leader is also tagging along to probably try and scupper the whole thing and stop Ukraine having to hand over any of its land in any kind of land swap. But anyway, yes. So after the meeting with Putin on Friday, now Trump is meeting Zelensky face to face. That's for definite. He's definitely coming on Monday. But it looks like other European leaders are also attending. I think it might be your dear Starmer as well.
Oh, it's just like they're all on a jolly all the time. They've had all these years to try and help to fix the war, and instead they've supplied weapons continuously, which I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they didn't really attempt to get a proper meeting with Vladimir Putin. It was all gung-ho, and now here they are again. Keir Starmer needs to fix quite a few things at home.
Yes, and so this is hilarious with the parade of European leaders now headed to Washington. Suddenly, as we're on the brink of some sort of negotiation, they're showing that they really never wanted the war to end, because it was a cash cow for all of them.
Greg, the laundry list of European politicians who will be accompanying Volodymyr Zelensky to Washington, D.C. seems to be growing by the minute. I mean, it's everyone from Macron of France, Merz of Germany, Meloni of Italy, Starmer of Britain, Alexander Stubb of Finland, Mark Rutte, the General Secretary of NATO. Where are they all going to fit? I mean, the White House isn't that big.
Yeah, I think they can fit. I mean, look, I'm not sure each one of those individually matters, but I do think collectively it might just demonstrate that there is support for Ukraine in Europe, and that's important to the president too. This can't be a U.S. only support mechanism. So I think it's harmless. I'm not sure it will move the needle that much, but I think it's a decent show of support for Ukraine. I think some of the muscle flexing and, Macron making demands, not giving up an inch of land, that's just all theater. But I do think that it shows that the president is willing to work with the Europeans, contrary to some of his critics.
Mm. Now, just finally, we don't have much time, but do you think that President Trump could get this war wrapped up by his first anniversary in office?
Oh, absolutely he could. And timing is difficult. I mean, I think he was exaggerating, of course, when he said he would end it in the first 24 hours. But remember, this is not his war. It's to his great benefit to end the war. It's to everyone's benefit to end the war. But it's not his. I think he's going, he's making a great effort at ending this conflict that didn't start on his watch, probably wouldn't have started on his watch. So, and even Putin acknowledged that. So, he's not responsible for this, but on the other hand, he is the leader of the free world, and I think he's got a great shot at getting this done. And my guess, Tom, is he wouldn't be doing these meetings on Friday, on Monday, and ultimately the trilateral meeting with Zelensky and Putin. I don't think he'd be doing that if the back channels and the Secretary of State, for example, hadn't made progress on some sort of arrangement. He's surely not going to announce what they talked about Friday because he hasn't talked to Zelensky yet. So we'll get there, though.
So I get that this is all such a big deal. Like I do. Okay. The war in Ukraine is terrible, and we've been funneling so much money and all these things, and it needs to stop. But I guess I'm just sitting here and I can't help but think about, like, you guys are worried about how you're going to put food on the table. You you all have your own stressors and your own, like, issues in life and concerns. And the fact that this is the thing that has become,
That's really good,
the be all and end all, like every Keir Starmer is going to come and everybody's making such a huge deal about this thing, where it's like, I don't know, it just feels disingenuous to me. I feel like it feels like a show. It feels like a distraction from, like, the very real issues that are hitting people, not just in the United States, but around the world. We started watching this very old British show. We've watched a couple of episodes of it while we were eating dinner, about restoring, like, old churches and whatnot. It's from, like, 15 years ago. But I guess I'm thinking to myself, how do people even afford to live in the UK? Because they take all of your money.
Yeah.
Like, you are a slave. You go to work and they let you keep maybe 45% of your money.
Yeah.
Like, how does anybody even survive? And I'm just sitting here going, like, dude, like, the banks are about to collapse. Everything is about to implode. Society is literally on the brink of collapse. And you're making the war in Ukraine the largest thing that we could be talking about right now. Something is not right. And you even said that in your description, actually. You were like, has hell frozen over because Hillary Clinton is now supporting Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Or is there something else afoot? You literally wrote that in the description. And I guess I'm sitting here and I'm going, I think something else is afoot. Hillary Clinton is the arch nemesis, supposedly, of Donald Trump. And, she's coming out and saying, if he can do all this, I think that there's a there. I think that there is something significant in what she is saying that goes along with what Leah and I have been talking about right here on Resistance Chicks, maybe the only conservative podcast out there that is saying this with, I think, some semblance of sanity.
Yeah.
I don't like it. The fact that all of these big shot people are now saying friendly things about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It is not okay.
Yeah. I think that
he's one of them, and they know it, and they are now, it's like the memo has been put out. You know how when the news stations do all of these, like, they all start to sound the same, and the talking points have been put out. I feel like there's a memo that has gone out to all of the elite that says it's okay to like Trump now again. It's okay to be his friend again. It's okay to revive that friendship, because the Clintons and Trump were friends before.
He was literally Hitler. You would never nominate literal Hitler for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Exactly, because if he's guilty of all the things that you have been telling us for years that he is guilty of, you can't ever say, oh, well, if he did this, then I would nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize. You're such a joke.
All right, so we're going to go back to the UK. The illegal channel crossings of migrants have reached 50,000 in just 402 days under Keir.
No other Prime Minister in British history has done. He's seen 50,000 migrants cross the Channel illegally in record time, in just 402 days to be precise. That's how long we've had to put up with this wretched Prime Minister and his Labour government. Boris Johnson, he hit the 50,000 mark, but after 1,000 266 days. Even Rishi Sunak, who's no fan of his administration, managed the 50,000 mark after more than 600 days. But this Prime Minister, 402. What a record. He should be absolutely ashamed of himself, because we don't know where these men are from. Let's be honest, most of them are young men in their 30s, economic migrants. We don't know where they're from, we don't know who they are, we don't know if they're a threat to our women, to our children. We don't know if they're a national security threat. That's the whole point. We haven't got a clue. It can't go on like this for much longer. What happened to that great big plan they announced last week? 1 in, 1 out. It was a lie. That's what it was. It's not 1 in, 1 out. It's 1 out, thousands in.
Yeah. 1 out, thousands in. And that's where you're at. And this particular, the past couple weeks, the Brits have really taken to their streets. There's been they've been pushed over the edge. Truly been pushed over the edge. Yeah.
Facing Britain. I think we're heading towards a very, very risky situation. We know that terrorist sleeper cells have come across the channel. One of them had the profile picture of him stood next to a helicopter carrying 2 AK-47s. Videos of ISIS battlefield footage, beheading videos in what appeared to be northern France with semi-automatic weapons. This is heavy. At what point does charity become insanity? All of these gangs are also operating from in Britain.
I mean, what kind of bullshit is that?
We've created basically an illegal tourism industry.
Tom Robinson loves his country. Does Keir Starmer love the country, and do Labour?
That is a big job, being Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
I would say you as the centre forward of GB News.
I'm big in the foot fetish community, apparently.
Fuck off!
Sorry, I didn't
I am amazed I've never sworn on air, because actually I do swear a lot.
I can curb it around children.
Well, I can't. I'm happy to interview anyone. So, like, I'd interview Kim Jong-un.
Would you interview Bonnie Blue?
I don't like continue.
That there. So it's an existential threat to Britain and to Brits. Well,
I would not have guessed that clip was going to have that F word in there.
I had no idea.
That was not your fault.
Yeah. So
you mean play this next one?
Well, Brit Plaza sent me kind of a compilation of clips from the.
So
I want to get this
Instagram?
Right. No, not the next instant. I want you to actually play this girl. This one right here. So she's going to explain the RNLI, which is the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. Now, they save lives. Okay. And I have some really cool clips of them rescuing animals and people. But they're the ones rescuing, quote unquote, the migrants.
Okay.
So do they need them? And they're supposedly a charity, and they're now is the largest of the lifeboat services operating around the coast of the United Kingdom. They've been saving lives at sea since 1824. The problem is they've almost become a people trafficking deal. So I want to give you the idea of what they're supposed to be, but first I want to play this British girl's take on it first.
The UK has gotten that bad. People are now stopping the support for the RNLI, which is the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. And they're doing this until they stop helping the rubber dinghies when they get into the British seas. And if you weren't quite sure what they do, they work in partnership with the Coast Guard and other emergency services, but are an independent charity that rely on volunteers and donations. Now, in my opinion, I think the RNLI should be stripped of the charity status that they have, due to the fact that they've been doing this for years. And it's only now that the situation is getting that bad that people are actually clicking on about it. I did a video about this on my old account. Oh, and if you didn't know, the CEO of the RNLI is paid a yearly salary of £175,000.
Wow.
This was a salary set for the new CEO of 2024. I just find it disgraceful that we're being sold out by our own. Do they not understand that this is going to affect them in the long term as well? And I also find it disgraceful that this organisation that sits deep within our hearts is facilitating something like this. Like, what is the UK anymore?
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to show you some clips on why this particular organization does sit so well in their hearts. These videos have millions of views on YouTube. So here's one where the RNLI rescues an injured dog after falling 100 feet from a cliff.
Oh, there. Oh, there you go.
This is the dramatic moment. An RNLI lifeboat crew arrived to rescue Yogi the spaniel after he plunged 100 feet off a Devon cliff.
We'll walk the boat in. Okay. Okay, right. He looks quite injured.
Carefully making their way up the rocks, the rescuers head towards the petrified pooch, trying hard not to scare him.
He's just having a bit of a wee. He's a bit nervous. It's all right. It's all right.
Cowering on the cliff edge in Tor Bay.
Yeah, come on.
He has to be coaxed off the cliff and into their arms.
I know. We are here to help you.
It takes some persuading, but after a bit of belly stroking and a lot of patience, Yogi is happy to come down.
Stop it.
Good boy, Yogi. Good boy. That's it. Make sure you keep your visor down. Good
Poor
boy.
Yogi.
There's injury to the head and the eye. By the looks of it, there's bleeding from the nose.
In spite of a number of injuries, Yogi is expected to make a full recovery and is taken safely back to shore.
He's slowly getting used to me. Stop the shaking now. He's slowly getting used to me. Good boy. This is your mummy here.
A lucky escape for this happy hound.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Now reunited with his very grateful owner. Layla Hayes, 5 News.
There that's tugging at your heartstring.
Yeah.
Now cows, they save cows at sea.
Oh my gosh.
Because when you're surrounded by water everywhere, even the cows
Those are
can
dairy
sometimes
cows.
end up in sea. The sea.
No. There's no volume for this one, though.
That's okay. You're just gonna watch it.
Stop it. Podcast listeners, you are missing it. So they're swimming these cows like through the ocean. Cows, how did you get there?
That's a good question.
How did you get
Okay, so let
there?
me just draw you a map of Great Britain. Okay?
That was real. That was so technical.
Right. And then let me just show you what's on the outside of that. Water. Okay?
That's generally how islands work, Leah.
So I can see how cows might end up in the ocean because,
oh my god,
you know, and in America we don't really
They're
have.
going into like a cave. That one's gonna be like dead. I am worried. Get it out. Get out. Its head is not above water. Its head is not above water. Hello. Not okay. Oh, its head is above water. Okay. Oh, I'm terrified. I'm so scared. It's in a cave. Leah, I can't watch this. This is making me so scared. Do you have another one you want me to get?
Yeah,
this is terrifying. Poor cows.
I don't know why I have that one up. That one shouldn't be up.
Not this one.
It'll be the animal rescue one. But we're not done with the cows yet.
I know. I'm grabbing it ahead of time. Okay. Not this one?
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You guys. Are you watching this?
You got him.
You got him.
All
right.
Well done.
This is so these guys they're puppy rescuers now. They're cow rescuers. And now we've got this one. Again, does anybody else have volume? Do these have volume? These videos? Can you check and see if that has volume?
Which one are you on?
The square one. No, not that one.
Financial mismanagement.
Shoot.
Asking employees to lie.
You can skip to the next one that has volume.
Okay.
That one does.
Okay. So again, to remind you guys, this is the abbreviation?
The RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat something institution.
When the owner of Bo the dog saw him take a tumble over a 100-foot cliff, they probably assumed he was dead. But fortunately for them both, the tide was high when he dropped off Old Harry Rocks near Swanage, and he landed in the sea. Even more amazingly, the Swanage Royal National Lifeboat Institute were able to get a boat out and rescue the dog, which was recovered uninjured and reunited with his owners on the nearby beach.
Hello, fella. Hello there. Good boy, good boy, good boy. South Beach, Bankstown's car park. Huh? Bankstown's car park, South Beach. Yeah. Someone's lucky the tide was in.
Yeah. Got a horse.
But this sort of thing happens more often than you might think. This horse fell 50 feet down cliffs in Pembrokeshire.
Oh my
He was clearly frightened, but
feet.
eventually the 2 RNLI lifeboats from Cardigan managed to
Here's
calm
the
it
cow.
down and get it safely back to
No,
shore.
you're ahead.
Okay.
We're still on the horse.
Come on, girl.
And then this one, which is probably the weirdest rescue the RNLI in North Wales have ever got involved in. This cow, named Daisy, Natch, fell into the sea from a cliff and the local RNLI lifeboat was sent out to get her.
Come on, girl. Whoa, Daisy. Whoa.
They fitted her with a bridle, tugged her to the nearest bay and got her safely back to land. And after all that, it turned out that Daisy was the pet of a girl who was 8 years old at the time. Bless.
Oh, man, no. Okay, go. Okay, let go of it, please.
I'd be pretty stumped if I saw a cow in the sea.
Okay, so we can. But are these animal human
Heroes.
savers actually people traffickers?
Cool, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, the RNLI. People that are not British might not have heard of it. I know we've got a massive American audience and people all around the world, so they may not have ever heard of that. But it used to be a great institution. I mean, it's a couple of 100 years old. On the face of it, on paper, a great thing, right? To try and save people that are lost at sea. I think there was a big storm. Ships used to get lost at sea all the time in the pre-modern age, like the 18th, 19th century. There was one particular really bad one where loads and loads of people drowned, and they thought, if we had just a couple of boats there at that time, we could have saved loads of people. So it grew out of that. And until fairly recently, until we started being invaded by small boats across the channel, I had no problem. No one had any problem with them. So it would be a great thing. But in recent times, or since the boat invasion has happened, people have began to have some concerns about their role in it all. And so let's just talk about that a bit. I mean, they put out a tweet, just sort of doubling down on what they're doing, and they're sort of very disingenuously saying, "We're just saving lives at sea, bro. We're just." We don't need the volume of people screeching. So where the small boats often are sort of too packed and they capsize, particularly in bad weather. I mean, the channel is freezing. I mean, all the sea, unless you're in like the Bahamas or something, will be freezing. You haven't got long in the water. So one take is I don't actually want people to die at sea. So if they have actually capsized in bad weather, save them. But then, they should be detained and sent back, not just put into general population. Okay, that's one of the things the RNLI are saying. We just save lives. Well, that's a bit disingenuous because they're doing more than that. I mean, Nigel Farage and others have noticed that they just seem to be ferrying people across. We see images like this all the time, where they just seem to be acting as some sort of taxi or ferry service. So on days when the sea is fine and the boats haven't capsized or anything, they go out into the channel and basically escort them onto our shores, where of course eventually they're put in a hotel somewhere near you. And who knows who they are. I mean, they're nearly always men. Sorry?
Or near your daughter's school.
Right.
Or near your
That's a
daughter's
frequent
school.
one.
And they're nearly always just young fighting age men.
Oh look, 2 thumbs up from that guy.
Invaders. Just straight up invaders that shouldn't be here.
They don't look very wet, do they?
And so I thought it was a bit cheap, really, for the RNLI to pick a particular clip where they're literally saving lives, which again I haven't got any problem with. I'm not an actual monster. So, but they were sort of saying this is what we do. We're just saving lives. You're doing more than that, though. You're facilitating an invasion, a wave of God knows who, sex criminals.
You're aiding
statistically,
people traffickers.
Or worse, yeah. So you're doing the job of the people traffickers to some degree. I mean, the comments under their tweet is, you get 1 or 2 saying, "No, you're doing a great job."
I can't imagine most of them were very positive.
We see this every day. It is well, quite literally every day, apart from perhaps on the worst days in winter when the channel is too choppy for the invaders.
So you can pause that. You know, you think about it and you're like, listen, they know you're there to rescue them.
Yeah.
They know that's what you're going to do. So they go out into the water and they're taking advantage of the fact that you are going to rescue them. And that's the point.
How do you, so I guess my question is, how do you not be like he said, like, I'm not a monster. I don't want people to like literally die. Like you sit there and you watch people like, you know, whatever. What is the answer for the UK to stop these boats from coming over, just sending them back? Like, okay, we've rescued you and then we ferry you back.
You have to stay in France, and they could be guarding their channel, the channel border.
Yeah.
Way before that even get
The
to
UK
the
could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's kind of the point. And I actually have thought I had a clip on that. Nope, I thought I did, but I don't. But basically stopping them in France before they even get here. So a lot of people are upset. So you've seen that I love the rescues. I mean, give me all the rescues all day long, right? Of the animals. But unfortunately, they are now people smuggling. And if maybe the people were arrested right away, but when you're seeing them as now, okay, yes, these people now like basically robbed the bank, or, you know, you saw like the Allahu Akbar video that we played last year or last week when they were like Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So what do we do? Do we rescue them? No. Well, actually, then the government needs to have this ready to go. You're arrested, you're sent back, and you're told don't come back. Right? Don't come back. You can't be here. So using this particular group of people and using the people's, you know, heartstrings on something that, you know, is very real, you know, it's a real issue. I think that it's wrong to do. Okay, Michelle, I've got over here. Let's do this one. These aren't far right thugs. They're mothers, daughters, and families. So of course the protests have gone on this week, and the narrative would be, are they the young men with tattoos, far right, issuing all kinds of threats?
Right.
No, they're actually the people out there protesting are families, their moms, their dads, their kids, actually even out there who want a safe environment. And the RNLI is facilitating invaders that are making homes and places and communities not safe.
That you're right to suggest that actually what we're going to be seeing is this continuing. I think there's an important new dimension to the protests in the Canary Wharf today, in fact, which is that there's this group calling themselves the Pink Ladies, which is, of course, we've seen for quite a long time attempts to really often smear the people at these protests as far right or football lads or something like this. And there may have been some of that perhaps more last year after Southport. But what we are really seeing here, and increasingly in Epping as well and across the country, is that actually these are really just local people, mothers and daughters and families, who are in this case wearing pink today to protest this and to really highlight that issue of the threat that these often undocumented young men do pose to British women and girls.
Why do you think that the government don't really appear to be taking any notice of these at all?
Well, it's a good question, Nana. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, last year we did see that really vicious and forceful denunciation of everything that was happening by the Prime Minister as far right, as thuggery. And, of course, there was some violence, but there was a lot of heartfelt concern about this. And we're seeing that again this year. But I think it's becoming much harder to maintain that narrative. And what we're now seeing really is just that the government is trying to ignore it and pretend it's not happening. But I don't think really that's a viable strategy, Nana. And just to give you one of the slogans of those Pink Ladies today from Canary Wharf, it's simply, we ain't going nowhere until you start listening. And starting listening would mean closing that Britannia hotel, but it wouldn't mean just shunting these migrants off to somewhere else, like in HMOs or perhaps even into social housing that they would use taxpayers' money to bid against taxpayers to put migrants up in. But really it's to deal with this problem at source, which is to stop the incentives for coming. And so there's various options there. But at the moment, the government doesn't seem to want to do that. And
Stop
so really
the incentives. Yeah, you're going to be rescued at sea.
Economic chaos is shaking the markets. Trade tensions, government overreach, and global uncertainty are driving volatility to historic highs. But in times of crisis, gold and silver shine as safe haven assets just as they have for centuries. Right now, you have a rare opportunity to protect your wealth with Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. Call 720-605-3900 or visit kepm.com/B2T to learn how to reposition your retirement into low-cost 100% liquid gold and silver bullion. No high commission coins, no overpriced collectibles. KEPM educates you, charges no commission when you sell, and keeps your investment secure. Beware of firms pushing rare coins with sky-high markups. Stick with bullion for maximum liquidity and value. Seize this moment to thrive in uncertain times. Call Kirk Elliott Precious Metals at 720-605-3900 or go to kepm.com/B2T today. Real assets, real security, real future.
Terrell Owens here. On the field, I brought energy every single game. But let's be real. Sometimes the fatigue in the brain can make you feel like you're running on fumes. That's where Exodus Strong and their Fatigue to Fire playbook come into play. It's a complete 40-day blueprint with a checklist, an in-depth ebook, plus daily prayer and Bible study guides to rebuild your body, mind, and spirit. They will run and not grow weary. Isaiah 40:31. Getting in the game means fueling your body with purpose. Here's what makes Exodus different. 7 sacred plants from Scripture, enhanced with breakthrough molecular hydrogen technology to restore the vitality God intended for your body. This isn't another supplement. It's your complete energy restoration system. No crashes, no jitters, just sustained energy from brain fog to crystal clear focus. Your fire is waiting. Ignite it now. Visit toexodus.com to claim your Fatigue to Fire system. Limited time offer available. toexodus.com.